Welcome back to the table, and I want to welcome back Revive to the table too.
Back on there.
Because it's been a minute since we've had Revive on the table. As we were setting this up, I was thinking, I just want to play Revive. And you know why I want to play it now? Because we are lucky enough to have the expansion Call of the Abyss. This has just arrived here on our doorstep, and we wanted to get it out and let you know everything that it has included. It has a lot of different things, has a few different modules you can put in there together. A lot of new stuff that's kind of similar to the old stuff, but some completely new things as well.
Yeah, definitely. So thematically, what's happened here is we've gone a little bit forward in time in the world of Revive. The ice caps have melted, forming these lakes out on the board. And you'll see that we've incorporated a few of these lake tiles to start with. Now, those lakes and that water brought a new kind of creature. They call it a Cyphos. It's this almost like very powerful psychic kind of creature that lives deep in the water, and you can kind of call on their aid. But in order to call on their aid, you need to prove your devotion to them, which is kind of the theme of this new game. And there's several different ways that you can prove your devotion, but it all kind of involves going up this secondary victory track, which is that devotion track. So now you kind of have to balance whether you just want straight up victory points or if you want to go up that devotion.
But the coolest thing here, and I haven't seen this in many other games, as you score devotion, and of course there's going to be a lot of new ways to get devotion points in the game on a lot of the components, but when you go up devotion or when you go up the score track, you can instead choose to convert for a 2-to-1. So say you go up 2 on the score track, instead you can go up 1 on the devotion. If you go up 2 on the devotion, instead of doing that, you can go up 1. And that's really, it's key here, because if you've played Revive, there are bonuses on the score track. There are also bonuses, and new ones, might I add, on the devotion track. At the end of the game, all of these are points. So you're going to score your devotion as points. You're going to score your normal score as points as well.
Yeah, you're effectively just combining them. And as you wrap around, you can have both of them down in this bottom and score a lot of points potentially. One of the cool new bonuses that you're going to get for going up the devotion track are these Cyphos cards. You have 3 opportunities to potentially gain 3 of these cards. They're very powerful because they are wilds. If you remember in Revive, you're drafting cards, and yes, of course, there's some new cards added in here, but you're taking these cards into your deck and playing them, and you're trying to trigger these different machines of different colors. So you're kind of trying to, plan around a certain color. These being wilds, you get to declare the color when you play it. That's a huge benefit already, and adds an entirely new dynamic to the game, along with actually having these lake tiles out on the board.
Not to mention, just the abilities on them are new and unique, or at least different combinations of the kinds of things that you've expected to see in the past.
And of course, a lot of those cards are going to interact with this module as well, giving you more ways to move up the devotion track and things like that. But the main way you're going to be moving up this track is by proving your devotion or worshiping these new beings by building around their lakes. And you kind of see here, you can kind of tell from the graphic design, every time you build a small or large building adjacent to one of those lakes, you're going to go up the devotion track. But then not only that, every time you hibernate, they're going to give you a benefit for building next to the lake as well. So getting there early before you start hibernating, it can really help you. Those rewards really start to stack up.
Yeah, and another way you can get devotion is the journeys. The journeys are completely new. There are these journey cards up here, and you can get these journey cards, and when you do, you put them above your player board, and they sit there. And as a free action, you can effectively achieve something on that journey if you've done it. As you can see, these cards have 3 levels, so they want something that's on the top of the card, and then depending on how many of those you've gotten, you can choose to or to not turn it in for some amount of devotion. So you could keep the journey there and keep going on it and achieving it higher and higher and get up to maybe 4 devotion.
Yeah, possibly. And these are a new switch action that you can take when you trigger your switch. Instead of doing one of the basic switch actions, you can choose to take one of those cards, but each one of those cards requires you to remove one of your cards from your hand out of the game. And again, this is where those Cyphos cards come into play, because each journey card wants you to remove a specific color. But if you have a Cyphos as a wild, you can just get rid of one of your 3 potential cards. Again, a balancing act there that you have to decide between.
Yeah, and a really cool sign that they took the different modules here and really connected them. A lot of expansions, you see a lot of modules that feel sort of disparate. This one definitely, all of these things really seem
well,
to revolve around that devotion and this whole new theme.
And they also just introduced a lot of optional modules that kind of address some people's problems. They had some modules to address randomness and things like that. Of course, you've got, like we said, all new cards added in, all new machine parts, all new module tiles. That's not what you came here for. You came here because you wanted to know about the factions. Because that is one of the cool things about Revive is how crazy the factions are. And we've got 4 new factions in this box.
Yeah, the new factions. Now, we haven't read the rules completely thoroughly to know when and how these are all usable, but I don't think, based on some of their powers, that they're usable just with the base game.
Yeah, you need to use these because a lot of their abilities give you devotion and interact with the devotion track, so you have to use them with that. And then I've got one who cannot be used in solo mode because it relies on other players, so there are a few more restrictions. Also worth noting, none of these have a basic side. They're all meant to be played with the advanced game, but if you're playing the expansion...
If you've got the expansion to Revive, let's hope you're playing the advanced game. So I'm going to start with the Gibwarks, and that's why I chose them. The Gibwarks have a pretty straightforward power. You're going to be able to, when you activate them, flip your switch and get a devotion, but you must do both of those things.
Yeah.
But you may think that sounds like, well, what's the big deal there? Well, they have kind of a better switch. You get these 2 gadgets to begin with in the game, and whenever you flip your switch, you're not only doing the normal things you do when you flip your switch, but you also to activate one of those gadgets, which are effectively just bonuses that you might expect to see. You flip that over, you take the bonus. Once all of those are flipped over, if you flip the switch, you get nothing. But whenever you hibernate, you get to flip those gadgets back over so that you have basically a much more valuable switch. Because I think a lot of people, I don't think I ever looked at the switch action as like, oh, it's something I'm looking forward
with the journey cards, though, and then you get to do the journey card and trigger your gadget.
Exactly, and like what Ryan was saying a second ago, they took some things, I think, after continued play with the games, and went, oh, you know what, let's beef up the switch a little bit more with a faction and maybe with the journey cards, so it really rounds the game out.
Well, and they can earn, as you place your people out, you can earn 2 more gadgets as well that are even better. 2 more gadgets,
yeah.
So that's good. These guys over here, Kairos, this is a cool new thing too, because they actually have powers that change based on whether it's day or night. And now there's this new token that's going to change. It doesn't affect anybody but them, really. But you get to determine if it's day or night, and you have a power that kind of switches it. And all of their tech, as you kind of gain these technologies, they give you benefits, but the benefit they give you is different based on whether it's nighttime or daytime. So as you're kind of flipping this, each one of the technologies you unlock, some of them are effectively 2 powers in one, because you can modify this by using your special action, again, which is giving you a lot more options. And this is something we didn't see in the base game at all.
No, it's really interesting. And did you mention it also just naturally flips during hibernation?
It does. Every time you hibernate, it flips over to the other side and then gives you access to those other powers. So there's a huge timing element with this faction as well.
Yeah, I think that one, for me, it would take some getting used to and some there's a learning curve for that one with me.
There's a learning curve, sure, for all of these factions.
I think I'd miss out on the timing. The next one I have is the Asterius. The Asterius, I like to think...
Spoiler alert, these are my favorite of the new ones.
These seem like the jerks of the new ones, potentially. They come with 5 gates, and the gate tokens are these 3 hex-sized tokens. And when you place one of these using its power, you can place it over 3 hexes. They have to be sand or any of the 3 terrain. You can't cover up any of the other things. And you put it out either open or closed. If it's open, and this is very interesting, it treats those 3 hexes as one space as it relates to figuring out
your scouting range.
The scouting range and all of that, which if you've ever played this game, you know what scouting range is. The other side, though, makes it so no one can count their range through these 3 hexes. So you could effectively really block things off when you put these things out there.
Yeah, the other cool thing, too, is once this is out there, they can use this as the 0 point for their own scouting once it's closed. So they can kind of place them out on the outside edge of the board and get to those areas a lot quicker than anyone else.
Yeah.
That's the part I like about them. Yeah, and now we have, this is interesting, these Cordycephians. This is a faction that relies on having other players at the table.
Yeah.
You can build in other people's locations. That is huge alone.
That's a big no-no in the base rules.
Yeah, you cannot block these guys. That's cool to me. But every time that we build in somebody else's location, you can give them a leech token. And they can carry these leech tokens on them. And at certain points, you can choose to take the leech token back and use one of their cards that's in front of them, which is cool too. So if you wait for that right moment, somebody has a really juicy card, it's really good to be able to use that leech token. And there's lots of ways besides just building, as you go through your tech tree, you can find ways to give these to other players and eventually even copy the technologies off of their technology board with the leech tokens too, which is really cool.
Yeah, I have to say, the fact when we first played Revive, and then when we added to it like the 2 factions, once you go through the whole sort of like little campaign tutorial, there was a lot there, and I thought, oh, they could do more. But I really didn't think that we'd see 4 that felt so different and unique. Now, it helps that there's this expansion brings things more to the game, and obviously they explored that design space for these. But I can't wait to play these. In fact, I don't, like, there's so many now.
I know.
So what does this bring it up to? I think 10?
10, I think, total. There were 6 in the base game, I believe.
It's a massive amount of factions that you can use. Not to mention all the other things. There's little things that we kind of glossed over. Some of the new machine tokens are very, very powerful, but they're one-time use. Once you use them, you flip them over, and to boot, all of them provide one of those flasks, which is one of the tags in the game that let you score some points.
And those journey cards as well, once they're completed, count as flasks as well. So there's a few more ways because there wasn't a ton of ways to get flasks. If you got stuck with one of those objective cards, you kind of had to hope that you would get some. So they give you a lot more ways to do that.
Yeah, the flasks for sure. I can't remember the number of times we played the game, and like most of the way through the game, someone would say, "What are the flasks?" Because everyone kind of ignored it. It wasn't really I don't think it felt like a focal point for the design, but now it certainly is more of a emphasis.
Yeah, so all this stuff, all the things that we talked about is all in this one expansion. It will be available to demo at Gen Con, so hopefully people are getting the chance to get their hands on it. If you did get a chance to play it, I would love to hear what you thought of it.
Yeah, definitely demo it at Gen Con. I believe this is going to be a release around the Essen time frame. I'm not sure if it's going to be hitting retail before the end of the year, but with any luck,
I could hope so.
With any luck, maybe. But definitely, if you're at Gen Con, go over to their booth, check out and get a demo of this. And if you're at Gen Con and you see us, again, flag us down, say hi. We'd love to say hi. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, make them in the comments below. We'll get down there and answer whatever we can. Until next time, of course, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.